Welcome back to Rebel Therapy Podcast. I'm your host, Katie.
And I am your other host, Michelle.
Amazing. So today we're talking about
the value of hard and the importance of choosing it.
Always or sometimes?
Well, let's get to that.
I think this topic came up as we were discussing my recent scuba diving trip, right?
Yes.
I was doing my open water certification. I'd done the first part here in Toronto in a pool, and it was great. It was about a year ago, and I felt very comfortable. I wasn't sure when I was under the water whether I'd feel stressed out or not. I didn't. I felt amazing. Fast forward to the actual ocean, and I was in the actual ocean. I thought I'd be totally chill about the whole thing. And that my first skills training, I had to go to the very bottom and clear my mask. I had inadequately cleared my mask previously. There was like some soap in it or whatever. So when I went to clear my mask, there was soap in it, which went into my eyes. And I don't want to say I panicked, but like whatever one rung below panic was how I was feeling. I had an amazing instructor. He stuck with me. It was great. But it was at that moment that I thought, okay, I can see how people might stop. It was a bit of a crossroads. It was either hang in and keep going or quit. I ended up continuing with the support of the dive master and the other people who were there. Once I got over that hump, each dive was exponentially more amazing. So I'm really glad that I did it. But, I was talking to my kid about it, my son, and he was like, well, that's on brand. How could you not have thought it was going to be stressful? From the point of view that you're overriding your body's impulse to be like, what are you doing at the bottom of an ocean 60 feet down? It all made sense. The moral of the story here is that it was much harder. It was something that I had walked into intentionally. I thought I had laid all the groundwork to feel supported, and I did. It was absolutely my choice to do it. And it was much harder than I thought it was going to be. So it was a bit humbling, I think, from that perspective. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you thought it was going to be like a breeze.
One could suggest naively, yes, but I did. You're right. I thought I'd be fine. I really was not expecting the difficulty. There have been lots of times in my life where I've thought things would be easy, or maybe I just didn't think about it at all. And I was surprised by how difficult stuff ended up being. And then I've been in that position before where it's like, okay, I got to make a choice. Am I going to keep going for a variety of reasons, or am I going to quit? How do you determine, right? I don't know.
I think it is difficult. And partly what I was thinking is that there has to be an actual felt sense of a choice in it, right? Where it's like, that you can quit and you're aware of maybe what the consequences of that are. And you're like, yeah, and I can live with that. It's not ideal, but whatever, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to pushing through and what you might get out of that. There's a lot of unknown in that. You're like, I have to push through this moment to actually know what the other side is going to be like, but not feeling like you're actually trapped one way or the other.
I was physically trapped, but yes, I get your point. It's funny because I did actually give the gesture to go up to the surface, and my instructor's like, no, you're good. So I stayed, which was interesting. I give him credit for being able to assess the difference between what I thought my limits were and what he could tell were my actual limits, which is a weird thing to say because I wouldn't say that in other areas of my life necessarily, but there is something to be said for expertise and perspective. I could have forced it and I didn't. So there was just enough resistance to quitting that made me go, okay, fine, I'll stay, which I thought was really interesting. And there's something about this that takes it away. We talk a lot about autonomy and making personal choices, and all of that is true. But at the same time, if that instructor had been less confident and taken me at my first indicator that maybe I'm done, I'm not sure what would have happened. So it was an interesting confluence of factors that were outside of me. The fact that he was confident and thinking you're going to be okay, and he put up just enough resistance for me to go, okay, I guess I'll stay. Right. And I think about that, and I think about that as relates to like a parent's responsibility, in supporting their kid as their kid is trying to develop self-discipline, for example, or the ability to push through hard things. How do you know how much resistance to put in place versus being able to step back and letting them make their own choice? I don't know. It's a complicated thing.
It definitely is. And I think it is so situation dependent and person dependent. Also having someone that you trust, that type of support. because it's like if you're going to go into a potentially dangerous situation, it's like you want to be with someone who's competent and that you trust will, help you if you need it. So
Hmm.
it's being able to rely on that and assess within yourself, like, oh, he thinks I can do it, I can probably do it.
And all of
And
that was in a split second. I love what you're saying. And you said the word support. You and I have talked about this. And if you do any sort of medium dive on the internet, it's all like, aphorisms about how to live your life successfully, like kind of pseudo mental health. But a lot of it focuses on personal choice and autonomy. I think that's important because I am the only person responsible for my behavior, my choices, and my behavior. What can sometimes get lost if you're successful or if you fail at whatever you're trying to achieve is the importance that the role of support plays. I pushed through and I was successful and I got my certification and now I'm a scuba diver and that's amazing. And yeah, I did some of that work myself, but really the underpinning of it was the support that my instructor was able to give me so that I could make the hard decision to hang in even when it was scary or hard. And I think sometimes we forget that, right? Like it's us,
yeah,
but then it's also the relationship with the support available to us. It's both.
I think sometimes in society it's very individualistic in terms of being like, if you succeed, you succeeded on your own. And if you failed on your own. And
True.
it is just
Yeah.
so not true. There's so
No.
many different elements of support and environment that somebody either like flourishes in or
Hmm.
struggles in, and how much more like interwoven we actually are.
Yes, I love that.
Sorry, I'm just having a couple of thoughts. I saw Ethan Hawke, the actor, he got some, I don't know if it was a Lifetime Award, but he was
Okay.
giving a speech about that essentially. My success is based on all of the people who have helped me in the past, right? And like all of the
Right.
interactions I've had with other actors and directors, they're all a part of me and why I've been able to do this. I think that's an important message to have out there of just like, it isn't just me. Like, yes, the
No.
spotlight is on me at this moment, but like I am an accumulation of all of my experiences that people have contributed to.
Good and bad. And when we think about mental health in this country or wherever you are, it's important to move away from that individualistic framing and go much more towards something systemic, right? Because I mean, even as we are individuals in relation to our environments. It's just not that simple, right? And I think that when I talk to clients, often it's like that self-judgment where I didn't do this and I failed here, or I was great at this, or I succeeded here, whatever. And it really is, to your point, it's just a tiny part of the actual story, right? The reality is that we are each of us the stars of our own film, but there are a lot of supporting actors around the edges, right? That have
Yeah.
allowed us to, or supported us, or gotten in the way of our success or whatever it is. But certainly each of these individuals and the situation in which we find ourselves comes to bear on our perceived success or failure. I think it's an interesting point to consider that balance.
I saw someone was talking about taxes essentially and how like everyone complains
Taxes?
taxes, complaining
Okay.
about paying taxes. But like the idea, because they're like, why do we have to give like my hard-earned money to like the government and whatever? That you can have
Because
different
you live in
opinions
a
on that.
society.
But
Like,
actually, the taxes pay for the infrastructure that allowed you to make that money. Like, if you didn't have
yeah.
roads to drive on, if you didn't have, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so many different
Yes.
aspects of society. And yes, it is not done perfectly. It's not like the government
No.
is managed perfectly. But the reality of, like, yeah, you wouldn't have been able to get where you were without other people paying taxes.
No. I was out today having a coffee and looking at my coffee that cost 3.25, and that felt appalling to me in that moment. And then as I was contemplating my coffee that cost 3.25, I took a sip from the water bottle that I had filled up at my sink at home. And I thought it's an interesting interplay. Yes, the coffee that I'm purchasing is 3.25, but I can count on the infrastructure around me to provide me with clean drinking water at any time. Anybody who's been following us is aware that Toronto is in the middle of this never-ending deep freeze. And we were joking. Anybody who says, well, it's just Toronto in the winter. No, it isn't. This is insane. It's so much colder and so much more snow, and I hate it. But as I'm out there shoveling my snow, it makes me think about the state of the world as it currently is and where so many other people live. To your point, it's not perfect, but there are trade offs. I feel very lucky to be able to rely on the infrastructure, relational support, whatever you want to call it, as imperfect as it is, at least it's there. And it has added to my success, comfort, safety, whatever, right? And I think there's a place for gratitude around that stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like the experience you're talking about, you were in an environment that supports pushing through hard, right? It's like
Exactly.
all of the
Exactly.
different elements that allow you to even make that choice in the first place. Why I was emphasizing choice so much is I think
Yeah.
sometimes people think if it's hard, it's automatically meaningful or some like
Mhm.
people almost try to take like hard as it has an inherent meaning. It's either
A
always
virtue?
meaningful or if it's hard, it means it's not right. These kind of opposing views. Sometimes you don't know until you push through. And if you choose not to push through, you'll be okay too. It's when you feel like you have to do something, or maybe you are coming from a place of being extremely activated, you might say, right? Like a trauma response, then yeah, of course, you're not going to feel choice. You're going to do what makes you feel safe. But it sounds like you had enough resource in the moment, like internally and externally, to be
Yeah.
like, okay, no, I can hang in for at least another couple minutes, see if it gets better, and it did.
That's right. And I do think that our job as therapists, at least partially, is to help people identify where the gaps in their support systems are and then figure out ways to fill those gaps. Sometimes it's helping people think about how to create an external support system, because I think we all need, community and whatever that looks like for us. But even more than that, or maybe in addition to that, is being able to create that internal structure, that internal source of support that we can carry with us, right? So the guy helping me at the bottom of the ocean was amazing support for sure. But what it really came down to, or at least as important as that, was my own ability through time, because I've had the experience of support and I've been able to have the luxury to like practice my own self support, to know that I will be okay, whatever that means. Right. And so when I was in that like verging on panic, I was able to go back to that real felt sense of, listen, calm down. You're going to be okay. Whatever that looks like. If that means you have to shoot to the surface because I can't be underwater anymore, okay, fine. That's okay. Or I'll be able to stay there and be okay. Either way, I've got me. Does that make sense? So it's this beautiful combination of external support and the internal underpinning of that knowledge that, no, I got myself. I can do it. And I think that that's our role, or one of our roles anyway, as therapists, is to help people develop the ability to do that for themselves.
Yeah, I think that is a important highlight, right? It's like if you've never even felt safe in a relationship, you actually do need that external support to start to help you build that internal infrastructure of having yourself, having your
Well,
back.
the relationship with yourself, right?
Yeah.
And it is like we learn externally and then we
Yeah.
internalize whatever is demonstrated to us. So, to your point, all of this is taught. Depending on what I'm taught, that's what I internalize. So, if I've never been taught what a healthy, safe relationship feels like, then it's going to be really hard for me to internalize that for myself. That's where we can be helpful as therapists.
Even how you grow up and your parents are mirroring back to you, right? If you've never seen it or felt it in a particular way, you need to learn it. But another aspect I was thinking of is also the meaning piece of it. What feels meaningful to you to push through something hard and what doesn't. If you were not that invested in it or you just had a different personality type, maybe you would just been like, whatever, I'm not going to be a scuba diver. Who
It's too
cares?
hard.
Like,
Whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Really, it doesn't matter, to be honest.
no, but it was like meaningful enough that you're like, I'm going to hang in a little bit longer.
It's also stubbornness. That's
Well,
personality too.
that's kind of what I mean almost by meaning. I don't mean the actual thing itself in terms of achieving the scuba diving thing, but the internal relationship of like, I value being able to push through things that are hard. And if I can, I will.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I would take it a little bit further and say that is of inherent meaning to me personally. It's not
Yep.
empirically meaningful. I
No.
think there's a distinction there, right?
Yep. No, that's
Yeah,
what I mean. Like,
yeah,
particular to your personality, your lived
sure.
experience, that's valuable to you. Whereas, like, for me, I'm like, I don't even want to think about scuba diving. Like, it makes me feel like I can't breathe already. So,
Yeah, fair.
that would not be a meaningful use of me. Like, I could probably force myself to do it, but why?
If there's no value, then don't, right? Yeah. Anyway, taking it out of this inherent sense of good, bad, success, failure, it comes back to something we've talked about from a Gestalt perspective. Look at everything like an experiment. If it's an experiment, there's no failure or success. It's just, okay, I did a thing and I got an outcome. Is this an outcome I like? or not. And if I don't like the outcome, try something else. If I do like the outcome, amazing. In this
Yeah.
particular case, I pushed through, I hung in, and the outcome was I got to swim with turtles, and that was amazing. I loved it, and it was awesome. So it was worthwhile, but it could easily have gone the other way, right?
Yeah, and who knows, you might have regrouped and tried again, or you might have never done.
No.
There's no way to know until you actually do the experiments. There is a way in which we sometimes get trapped in our heads thinking this will be too hard, or what if this happens, or all of the kind of like stories we tell ourselves, but it's not till you're actually in the experience can you truly know what it
Just
feels
like
like
an
and what you might
experiment,
choose. Yeah.
right? You got a hypothesis. I think this is what will happen. On paper, it all makes sense. And then you actually do it and go, oh shit, nope, that's not what it is at all. Or wow, it's even easier than I thought. Fantastic. To experiment, to try to find what's meaningful to you. And if that requires pushing through, then figure out how to do that in a supported way, both internally and using the external supports available to you.
Yeah, and then it gives you like you actually feel more alive because of the experience, right? Like it helps you make
Yes.
contact with your inherent sense of being alive as a human, which I think is inherently valuable to be able to touch that experience for yourself to feel your aliveness.
I would agree. And whatever that looks like for you individually, I think it's our individual jobs to sort of figure that out. But yes, that is the meaningful point to this whole experimental business, right?
Yes. I'm curious for our listeners, what makes you feel more alive? Is it scuba diving? Is it the complete opposite of scuba diving, which is what I'll be doing?
Whatever it is. The other thing that I'd be curious about is what is something hard that you've pushed through and you got to the other side and thought, wow, that was worth it. Or alternatively, wow, not worth it at all because it's all part of the experiment, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of actions and hard things, what isn't hard is to like and subscribe to our videos. That feels very easy. So
very, very smooth. Thank you.
Yeah,
Katie.
it was good. Thank you, Michelle. Till
Okay,
next time.
bye.